Hey everyone, my name's Nick. I'm a mortgage broker that's helping Aussies build wealth through smart property investment. Today we're talking about something that is important for all property investors, and that's equity. Now this video should explain what is equity, how is it calculated, and how can you use it to successfully grow your investment portfolio. If you've been wondering how to take the next step in your property investment journey without having to save that cash for another deposit, then this video might be for you. So first, let's start with the basics. What exactly is equity? So equity is the difference between your property's current market value and what you have left owing on the mortgage. So if you had a property that's worth $800,000 and a mortgage with a balance of $500,000, that would leave you with an equity of $300,000. Over time, your equity can grow in two ways. The first way is your property value increasing over time, and the second is you paying down that mortgage balance over time. Or they can be happening both at once, accelerating the equity that you're growing. Simple enough, right? But here's the exciting part. You don't actually have to sell your home to be able to get access to this equity. As a property investor, you can leverage it to purchase your next investment property. So how does this actually work? Banks typically won't let you borrow against 100% of your equity. They'll typically allow you to borrow up to 80% of your property's value minus any debt that you have left owing. So let's go back to that 800,000 property example. 80% of 800,000 is 640,000 and you owe 500,000. So your usable equity of this would be 140,000. That 140,000 could be used as a deposit plus costs for your next investment property without you needing to use a single cent out of your own savings. Accessing your equity is usually done through a cash out refinance, and here's how that process works. So the first step would be getting your property revalued by the lender, and your second step would be using that new valuation to calculate what equity you may have in the property. Then what you would do is you'd apply to increase your loan amount, and this would be done usually as a separate investment loan, and these funds would then be kept in an offset account ready for you to purchase your next investment property. One thing that's important to note is that these funds are still a loan, so your loan balance will be increasing and you will be paying that extra interest on that money that you access. So you need to consider this in your cash flow calculations, and you want to make sure the investment property that you purchase performs well enough to justify this extra expense. Now, before you go pulling out some of this equity, here's a few things that you might want to consider. First, you're increasing your overall debt. Equity isn't just free money, you're increasing your debt to be able to get access to your equity. Second, if the market dips, your equity can shrink. So if you increase your debt to 80 or 90% through a cash out refinance, trying to pull out that equity, and then your property decreases in value, you might be left with a loan that is actually greater than the value of your property. Another thing that a lot of borrowers don't actually realize is you have to actually qualify in serviceability to be able to get access to your equity. You can't just take it out if you can't afford it. The bank has to see that you can afford the new repayments. So while you may have a heap of equity built up in your home, it doesn't guarantee that you'll actually be able to access it and use it to grow an investment portfolio. Another important thing to consider is the structure of your loans, especially if you're using your equity for investment purposes. To make sure that the interest on your new loan is tax deductible, it's crucial that the equity is used strictly for investment purposes. This could include buying an investment property, investing it in shares, or even doing renovations to one of your existing investment properties. The ATO looks at the purpose of these funds, not where they came from. So if you redraw equity to go buy a car or go on holiday, that portion of the interest will no longer be tax deductible. Also, you ideally want to try to keep your investment loan separate from your home loan. That way, it's much cleaner for your accountant to separate your tax deductibility without muddying the waters. So always speak to your accountant and your mortgage broker to make sure you're structured correctly from day one, as this can save you thousands in the long run. Right. So where it gets exciting is using this equity to build your portfolio and use a strategy that you're able to rinse and repeat. So let's say you've got 140,000 in usable equity. This can be used as a 20% deposit plus costs on an investment property ranging from $500,000 to $600,000. Now you can get into this investment property using this equity without having to put down a cent of your own savings. And this is a strategy that almost all successful property investors use to scale and grow a large portfolio. Successful investors, they buy smart, they'll wait for the capital growth or force some capital growth through some renovations. They'll then extract the equity, buy another investment property, and they'll rinse and repeat this process for as long as they can while they still have the serviceability. And when we grow in that bigger portfolio, that's when we might look into other avenues to strategically structure your loans to really stretch your borrowing capacity to grow your portfolio as big as possible. This is where it's crucial to speak to an investment savvy mortgage broker such as myself to make sure you're structured correctly from day one and have the plan in place to grow your property portfolio. So now that we've gone through what equity is, how it works and how property investors use it, here's a couple little points that you can keep in mind for when you're looking at using equity. The first would be to review your portfolio often, because you might actually have more equity than you think. Typically, we would do valuations every 6 to 12 months and pull out equity as often as we can if we're trying to grow and scale an investment portfolio quickly. The second tip would be to get valuations done by multiple different lenders. This is because some lenders will give very different valuations for the exact same property, meaning you can gain instant access to an extra $100,000 to $200,000 in equity just from a different valuation from another lender. And the third tip would be to make sure you buy the correct assets. If you want to be able to use this strategy to rinse and repeat, you need to be buying assets that are actually going to grow in value so you have that equity to be able to pull out. Buying one dud property can really slow down your progress and have you waiting for years for it to grow in value, stunting your entire portfolio's growth. If you're unsure where to start, feel free to book a free equity review with me. I'll be able to go through your situation, see how much equity you're able to access, and what strategy best suits your current situation and any of your future goals. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful at all, please leave a like, subscribe for more finance and property tips, and drop a comment below if there's any questions regarding what we've discussed today. And if you're ready to take action, I'd love to help. Check the link in the description to book a call with me. Cheers.